All right, today we are diving into a really powerful idea, one that could seriously be the missing link between who you are right now and who you really want to become. It's all about a process called collapse, the act of turning a possibility into your actual reality.
So let's just kick things off with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves, probably more than once. Why is it so darn hard to change? We have all this potential. We have the desire. We set the goals. But so often we just end up right back where we started. What is creating that gap between what we intend to do and what we actually do?
And this quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of it. The world doesn't really care about the amazing person you could be. It only responds to what you actually do. Potential, it turns out, is pretty much worthless without execution.
Which brings us to a huge frustration so many of us have with self-help. We read the books, we listen to the talks, we get all fired up, but the change, it just doesn't stick. So let's dig into why that is. You know the drill, right? We're told to visualize success, believe in ourselves, just think positively, get motivated. And look, these ideas aren't necessarily wrong, not at all, but they are seriously incomplete. They're like puzzle pieces, but they're missing the most important piece of the whole thing.
That's right. All of this conventional wisdom, all this focus on your mindset and your motivation, it completely misses the one single step that physically turns a possibility into your actual lived-in reality. And that missing step is this concept we're calling collapse. You can think of it like a bridge, the bridge between the you that's in your head and the you that actually exists out here in the real world. So, what is collapse exactly? Well, the idea is kind of borrowed from quantum physics, which is pretty cool. See, a particle can exist in many possible states at once, but it only collapses into one single reality when it's observed or measured. The theory here is that you're just like that. Inside you, there's a confident you, a disciplined you, an insecure you, all these possibilities. And collapse is the process that forces one of them to become real. So what forces that choice? What collapses all that possibility into one single reality? Well, it's not your good intentions. It's not the mood you're in. It's not even what you believe about yourself. It is one thing and one thing only: your action. Action is the currency of reality. It's the only thing that pays the bills. Okay, so if action is the key, how do we actually do it, especially when we feel stuck or overwhelmed? Let's get into the practical step-by-step formula for making this happen. Here's the core psychology behind this. We often think we need to take these massive, life-altering actions to change. But those huge leaps, they feel impossible, and they trigger our brain's fear response, our resistance. The secret is the tiny action, something so small, so doable, that it just bypasses our fear completely. This whole system can be broken down into 5 really simple steps. It's called the collapse loop. First, you choose an identity you want to embody. Second, you find the absolute smallest action that aligns with it. Third, and this is key, you act immediately, like within 3 seconds. Fourth, you reinforce it. And fifth, you just repeat it tomorrow. Okay, let's make this real. Imagine the identity you want to activate is confident you, and you're sitting in a team meeting at work. Normally, you stay quiet, right? Even when you have good ideas. So right there, in that moment, you ask yourself the question from step 2. What is the absolute smallest, least scary, tiniest action a confident person would take right now? We're not talking about giving a 10-minute speech. We're not talking about challenging the CEO. The smallest thing. The answer could be just one sentence. Seriously, maybe you just agree with something someone else said, or you ask a simple clarifying question. That's it. That is the tiny action. And in that moment, you have collapsed confident you into reality. Now, this next step is absolutely crucial. Immediately after you take that tiny action, you tell yourself this exact phrase. This isn't just fluffy, positive thinking. You are providing your brain with cold, hard evidence. You're basically saying, hey, brain, see that? We just did that. That's who we are now. So why is this little loop so incredibly powerful? Let's get into the science of how your identity is actually built inside your brain. It's probably not what you think. Think of it like this. Every single action you take, no matter how small, creates a little psychological echo. It sends a signal to your brain that slightly increases the probability of that new identity becoming your default setting. Every action is like casting a vote for the person you want to become. So let's say you take one tiny, courageous action. You finally send that one email you've been dreading. Boom, the probability of your courageous identity just went up. It might only be by 1%, but it's a real physical shift. But then you do it again tomorrow and the next day. And here's where the magic happens. These tiny percentages don't just add up, they compound. That 1% becomes 2%, then 4%, then 10%. And over time, what started as a tiny possibility starts to look like an inevitability. And when you zoom out and look at the long term, this compounding effect is it's transformative. After a few days of this, you might just feel a little different. After a few weeks, you'll notice your thoughts starting to change. After a few months, your actual behaviors will shift. And after a year of these consistent tiny actions, you've become a different person. This all leads us to a final and, honestly, a really crucial mindset shift that makes this whole process sustainable and takes all the pressure off. We are obsessed with speed, aren't we? How fast can I change? How quickly can I get there? But that is totally the wrong question. The only thing that actually matters is that you are taking one tiny step in the right direction every single day. If you do that, transformation isn't just possible, it's guaranteed. Speed is just a side effect of consistent direction. And this really just sums up the whole idea perfectly. We tend to think our lives are defined by these big, dramatic moments, the job change, moving to a new city. But the truth is, our identity, who we are, is forged in the tiny, almost invisible micro decisions we make, moment to moment, every single day. So I'll leave you with this. Forget about tomorrow or next week or next year. Right now, what is one tiny, almost laughably small action you can take in the next 3 seconds to collapse the person you want to be into reality?